Hello, everybody, and happy Thursday. Thursday, April 8th. Yes, we are in the springtime and full spring weather out here near Southwestern Ontario. We just had a couple of really gorgeous days. So I'm so excited just for that spring weather to be there and to be with you today. Like I said, April 8th, Thursday, April 8th, here on Audrey Live. We've got an amazing guest on the show today, Bev Morgan, and she's going to demonstrate her photography and watercolor and how she combines the two. And it's just a really, really neat process. You do not want to miss it. Also, we have some really neat DIY spring wreath ideas from Jen Tryon. I've still got my Easter decorations up, but this weekend I'll be switching the Easter and putting up that spring summer decoration. And there's some really neat ideas there just for something new, something fresh to be on your door or on your wall and get that spring feeling going. And using things around the house, perhaps. So we will see. You have to stay tuned. Today, we just make sure, oh, yes, make sure that you post or comment or ask questions as we go through the show today. And just thankful that you're here with us, whatever your situation is. I think most of us, I'm just putting on my Facebook, sorry, so I can watch it on the other thing and see some of your questions and who's on and things like that. So many of us are still in somewhat difficult situations with COVID and the pandemic, and depending on where you are, what your situation is. I know here in Ontario, we were kind of out of a lockdown there for a little bit and able to do a little bit more. And now we're back in a lockdown for 4 weeks. So it's difficult. There's certain things that we really wish we could get out and do, and go camping or go go visiting or go for dinner, and we're still not able to do that. But the weather is beautiful, the sun is shining, and just getting out in that fresh air makes me feel so much better, and I'm sure you do too. So hi, Betty. Oh, first time in a long time. So glad that you could join us today. And Sandy, hi, Sandy McTeer, thank you for joining us. And Ramona from out there in BC. Hi, Ramona. And Debbie James from Port Elgin. And talking about Debbie James in Port Elgin, she is one of our teachers at the upcoming Art Waves. I was almost going to say Pinnacle Canada Art Waves live online event. And tomorrow registration opens on our website. It's just been a process. It's something very new. I've been doing in-person events for 25 years, so I know how to do that. I'm an organized person. I just go for it, and it's an easy process now. It's a lot of work, but it's an easy process. But switching everything online has just been a real not struggle, but another learning curve for myself and for all the teachers, educators that will be teaching at the event. I see Cindy's on. Hi, Cindy. She'll be teaching for us as well. Cindy Ohama. Hi, Debbie Visser. Nice for you to join us. So yeah, it'll be exciting to see the catalog online. And I know many of you have been messaging me and seeing all the little teasers on Facebook that the teachers are giving you of the classes that will be available. So tomorrow you can go on www.c2c, that's a C, the number 2c events.com, and it'll be all over Facebook. So, and that's where you'll just click on the tab that says Art Waves Live Online, and all the catalog will be there, the online registration will be there, and let's just keep our fingers crossed that we'll have no glitches and it'll just run tickety boo and you can get your registrations in. And for all those that were registered for the Art Waves London show, you will be given over the next couple of days your updated confirmation, but you certainly can go on, pick new classes to fill in those holes of some of the teachers that might not have been able to teach for us. And it'll be awesome. Many of the classes there'll be a unlimited or just a higher limit. It's not necessarily unlimited, but we can take more students, so not to worry. Hopefully we'll get you into your first choice classes, but there's just so many amazing classes and amazing teachers. I'm sure there'll be more there than you can choose. So we're really, really excited. Thank you, Debbie. Yippee, she put on the link there. So it'll be amazing. And we're very excited. And along with that, it's going to be our 25th anniversary this year of doing shows, in-person shows. So we will be doing a celebration on the Saturday night, an online celebration, which will be on Zoom. And it'll be on the private Facebook group for those who are registered. And we got some really neat things. We got some goodies, bags that we'll be sending out to everybody. We'll be doing a couple make and takes that you will have all the product or most of the product in front of you, at least the surface and some brushes and who knows what else. We're still gathering information and products from different sponsors to put into the loot bag that we will mail out to you. Or mystery box, I guess we'll be calling it, because it won't be in a bag, it'll be in a box. So that'll be exciting for everybody who signed up for the 25th anniversary party, that they can just craft along and we'll just have some fun together. So that's the way we have to celebrate right now. So that's we'll have a lot of fun, and certainly for all those who register, we'll have a great time. Like I said, spring is here, and it's a time to be creative and to kind of change things up a bit. Like I said, I still have my Easter stuff out. So this weekend I'll be putting getting the Easter box out and putting the Easter decorations away, and getting some spring things out. And I need some new, fresh things to put on the door or on the outside of my house. So I just saw a good friend of mine, Jen Tryon. She had some really neat ideas. So I thought I wanted to share them with you. So let's get started with her first. Oh, sorry about that. I'm not quite sure what happened. Okay, let's see. We'll start that again. I'm not sure if it went to a different, there we go. All right. This is her first one. It's called a rubber boot wreath, and it's a really neat project. So enjoy. Isn't that cool? Just an old pair of boots that don't fit anymore, I guess. And yeah, just thought that was a really neat project idea that she had, and posted, and just very unique for sure. So now we have another one here. If I can get it up. Yes, I will. And I will share that one with you. So this is another great idea from Jen Tryon. There you go. So there's two of her great ideas, the boot and the hose. I know a lot of us probably do have some extra hoses around that don't work anymore, and so kind of need something that you can do. She also did one. She didn't do the video, but she just showed that you can use an old umbrella. So there's an umbrella wreath right there. And I was looking for my mother. She was saying how she had so much yarn, just little pieces of yarn and different colors. And she's just looking for something new and different to do. So I actually found a couple of wreaths that you could make using yarn and using knitting. I went to yarnspirations.com or .ca, depending where you are. And when you look under the free patterns, I thought that was really neat. So basically, they just take one of the circular styrofoam wreaths and cover it with yarn, and then you can just uh, knit some different flowers to put on. So that one was a little more difficult, not difficult, it says beginner level, but for somebody who has knitting. This one, you're just rolling or going around the wreath with the different colors and then making the little balls, which would be really colorful and easy to do. And then this one's just making all little balls. Or they also have a yarn that has balls. So I guess you can just keep going around. And again, that's more of a simplified version of the knitted one. So if you're watching, Mom, I've sent you all the instructions for those. So watch out for those in the mail that you can get started on some of those spring projects. Yeah, so that's kind of all I had right now for all the spring projects and things to do. If you have, oh, hi, Debbie Cotton. Yes, Yellow Boots, Debbie Cotton, another one on. Thank you, Debbie, for watching today. So if you have any ideas or if you have different things that you've done for your wreath ideas, please send them to me and send me a photo so that we can share it with others on next week or on 2 weeks from now show. Today, our guest is Bev Morgan. She is from Hanover, Ontario, Canada. She's an artist and teacher associated with the Southampton Art Centre, the Saugeen Artist Guild, and the Federation of Canadian Artists. She promotes art awareness in her local community as a proud member of both the Town of Hanover Economic Development Committee and the Arts and Culture Committee. I know she's a very busy lady. Before the pandemic, Bev combined her two passions of painting and travel by teaching watercolor every year on board 3 cruise lines. Now that would be a neat adventure. I want to hear more about that, Bev. This inspired her to teach watercolor courses on Udemy, I think that's how you say it, .com, and proudly reports of having over 7,000 students globally. Her Hanover Art Studio provides ample room for small group workshops during non-COVID times. So Bev, we're just so happy to have you with us here today. Hello, Bev.
Hello, how are you?
Good. So nice to have you with us.
Oh, it's my pleasure. I was really looking forward to spending the time with you this afternoon.
Good. Now, and you've taught for us before at a couple of our shows in London, and where did you teach in Toronto as well, or just the London?
Mississauga, yes, that was my
Mississauga,
first
yep.
experience your show. Yes,
Yeah, and everybody just loves your technique and your style and taking classes from you. So I'm very excited to have you on the show here today. So
I'm glad to be here.
one thing I was wondering, I was kind of looking at your thing, and you have been involved in the art community and part of art for a long time. So how many years have you been doing this, and how did you first get started in the industry?
Oh, it was a juggling career at one point in my life. I worked at a hospital full time, and I taught art classes on my weekends off and the evenings off. And I always called my art as my stress relief when I'm working at the hospital, because when I worked at the hospital, I was on call and with a pager, and so I don't even think about that when I'm doing my art.
Yeah. Your whole mind just goes into it, right?
That's right. That's
Yeah,
right.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
right.
Oh, perfect. Can you tell us a little bit about your classes on, and how do you say it? Udemy?
Udemy, yes.
Udemy.
Well, I probably pronounce it a little bit different than the Americans do, but it's an American platform.
Oh,
And they
okay.
have many courses besides art. They have business, and they must over 100,000 students taking classes for different
Wow.
items. Yeah.
So how could somebody get involved in something like that? Because I mean, everything right now is online. So
Yes.
how did you get involved in
Well,
that?
I first got, well, it went back to cruising. I teach art on cruise ships once a year. So when I met a few people, they said, well, are you online so I can take classes from you?
Ah,
And I said, well, I guess I could do that. I never thought about that. So that was back in 2016. So I submitted a course online, Udemy, and they give really great feedback. So they say, oh, your video, your audio is wrong. You got a lot of background noise. And so they help you, encourage you to keep going and resubmit. And then finally, they accepted my course. And I have, I think, 13 or 14 classes on there now, and over 7,000 students
wow.
worldwide. So it's lovely. And I plan to put another course this year sometime, another course. I usually do 2 or 3 a year. So yeah, yeah.
Now, how long are the courses typically that you would put on?
My courses usually range from 2 to 3 hours.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And it's a lifetime. So as soon as someone registers for the course, it's a lifetime. They could stop and go. So they have a month off and then re-look at the course and keep going. So it's a lifetime access to the course after.
Okay,
Mhm.
wonderful. And how did you get involved in teaching on the cruise lines? Now
That's
that's
another
quite the
story. I
gig.
can tell stories over stories. Well, I knew I was retiring from the hospital in 2015. So back in 2014, I sent all my resumes to the cruise ships, trying to figure out how to do this. And then I had no replies. And then all of a sudden I Googled one evening, watercolor classes on cruise ships. And here it pops up an article from an artist that just came back from the Queen Mary 2, and he had a great time. And then at the very bottom, it says he went with this agency. And then all of a sudden, a light bulb goes off in your head. Oh, yeah, there is an agency. This. So now I have 3 agencies to book for courses, for classes on ships. But now, last year, they're all done right now. So they're not doing any involvement. But I've been on the Queen Mary 2 twice. I've been on the As a Mirror Journey twice. And I've been on the Celebrity Summit once, and I was supposed to go on the Queen Victoria to Norway last August, and that got canceled.
Oh,
But
wow.
it's great. I love it. I love travel.
So are you on the boat like for a week or 2 weeks, or like how long are you on the boat?
They're all different.
All
So my
different.
first time on the boat in the Queen Mary was 23 nights, and it was a round trip transatlantic crossing. So leaving New York, going to England, Germany, England, back to New York. And it stopped in Canada too, Halifax. But that was my first time. I couldn't believe it. It was like a dream come true. It was great.
Yeah,
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 yeah.
yeah. And you obviously have time to do some sightseeing and touring and stuff like that as well when you're there.
Yes, whenever the boat was docked, it was our free time. So I
Oh,
was able to go on excursions. And actually, I led the group off the ship because I was a kind of a part-time instructor. So my excursion was free. And so I would look after 30 or 40 passengers from the boat and make sure that they're okay and happy. And if anybody fell or sprained their ankle, I had to do an incident report. So it's like it representing the ship. So
oh,
it was great.
wonderful, wonderful. And
Mhm.
you'll do that again
When it comes back.
when it comes back. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Oh,
Oh,
it's definitely great.
very, very fun, very fun. Also, I read on one of your bios something about how 2020, 2021 has changed your business
Oh,
to be more online and that sort of thing. What changes have you seen in your business and in the industry over the last year?
oh my goodness. Um, so I did do a few in-person workshops at the beginning, January, February last year, but then everything stopped at the end of February. And now in August, I did spend a week at a campground and I taught watercolor classes in the afternoon. August was COVID cases was very low. I had a face shield, I had a mask on, hand sanitizer on each table. So again,
Yeah.
I felt okay to do that. So, but other than that, all my in studio courses were canceled. I had some at Southampton Art Center was canceled. Um, so I decided to go online. I learned in discovered Zoom, and I that was my savior. So I've been teaching Zoom Mondays classes and watercolors every Monday since January, and yeah, so
Perfect.
it's great.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's a
it's great.
learning curve, but I think for most of us or all of us, once you do it, it just becomes second nature. So, don't be afraid of trying something new
That's
because you'll
right.
be very surprised, what can come out of it, right?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
No, for
Yeah.
sure. Even the
Perfect.
uncertainty this year, you just don't know. So
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Awesome. Well, today you're going to demonstrate for us some watercolor and photography with
that's right.
color matching. So I'm going to let
Yes.
in your
All right.
demonstration
Yeah,
camera here,
sure.
and then I'll be joining. Is it coming in?
I'm
There we
just
go.
saying if it's upside down. Let's see here.
I think it might be
Just
upside down. Okay, let me.
yeah. So let
I'm
me
going
just
to. I'm going to spotlight it, and then you
okay.
can start the demonstration for us.
Okay, I'm going to turn this around. Let's see if this helps. No, that was my
I think that was right. If you turned it around, it was straight. There,
all right.
right there. Perfect.
All right. So I just have to readjust a little bit. There we go. Now let me just move things around, make more room. Now what you see in front of you is I did this about 15 years ago, and that's when I discovered how you can paint on mat board. I decided to cut a hole in the center, and I have a photograph, and I decided to draw out of the photograph, and I taught myself how to color match 15 years ago of whatever's in the photograph goes to on the mat board. So this is one of my first projects in doing this thing. Let me just put there so it's no glare. But again, that's my first project. So that's my discovery. And then I decided to play around with flowers, and I taught a large group of artists in London a couple years ago. And I provided a frame and a mat board with a hole cut in the center, and half the artists brought their own photographs and then half used my photographs that I supplied them. So again, it's interesting about expanding from a photograph. I've also had made little squares in different parts and then use different parts of the photograph. And it's kind of neat that you've got maybe a focal point with clear picture, and then your painting goes on the outside. So I just wanted to show you this one.
Yeah, that is just so beautiful. I just love it.
So let's just put this one aside. So, and this is one of the workshops that I taught in London, as well as this is online. This course is step-by-step instructions on my Udemy, one of my Udemy courses. And so you can see the photograph right dead in the center. And then I drew it out, and then I even use a 1/4-inch masking tape just to kind of create an extra border there. So that is what I'm showing you with this sample this afternoon.
Wonderful.
So put this back. Here we go. So it takes, you have to have 5x7 photographs. You should have two. One to insert behind the mat board and one to as a reference. So what I mean is, see, this is a mat board. Now I do have my custom matting and framing business in my studio. So I have lots of these, and I do sell them too as well, if anybody wants any of 8x10s.
Perfect. So, we've put your website on there, so we're good to go.
Okay. So again, you would position it to wherever you want to draw from. So you can move it around. You can maybe have, you can go up and just have the cones on the top. So it's up to you of where you want to put this, this photograph. So usually I try to find it where there's no buildings or no distraction at the back. So it's kind of hidden. I just want to concentrate on the garden. So one you'll be taping on, And then one you'll be using as a reference, because remember, when you tape it behind the mat board, you don't know what's behind in this corner. So you really need to know what is behind. So that's why I always suggest 2 5x7s. So here's one. Put this one away. You can see I got it drawn here. Let's put it closer to the camera. And you can see that, right, Audrey?
Yes. Yep. No, that looks great. Yeah.
Okay. So you can see that how I drew out from the photograph. And that's why it's important to have this nearby, so you can kind of see how am I supposed to draw out. Okay, so that's drawn out like that. Now, the fun part is to add paint. So this has been painted. It's light values of watercolors. I even have masking fluid still on this mat board. You can put masking fluid on mat board, so that I can use my finger and take off the masking fluid. So this is protected area, so I can paint this pink flower. So it's all protected, and here's my 1/4 inch masking tape around. And what I've done is I used Saran wrap. And again, you can use a wet wash and your back in your mat board, and then put your different colors of light values of any color you want. So I have ultramarine blue and Booker's green and burnt umber down here. And then I use Saran wrap and let it sit for overnight or whenever it's dry. Take it off, and you have some abstract feelings of gardens. That it's instant, right? So that's that stage. I'm going to have another one. You can tell I've used this for demonstration before. When I was promoting my Udemy course, I did a little video, so I had these already.
Now, I mean, you might do it later, but I was just wondering, how do you know what colors to use?
The colors is going to determine what's on your photograph. So let's just say if you have a boat with a lot of blues, you'll be trying to match whatever is in your photograph. So for me, I'll explain a little bit more about color matching in a few minutes, but I just wanted to show you the process at this point. So you can see that I started to paint on top of this cone. And this is after I've got all my masking fluid off, and I started to paint all light values still at this point. But my idea is to join, let's just see if there was a stem in the photograph. There's going to be a stem coming out into your mat board. So that's that point, that step. Okay, so now we're going to, I have this large one of a large cone flower to show you. And again, I have a second 5x7. So enlarge it a little bit more. And I haven't even finished painting all this to do color matching yet. So this was almost done, but there's still lots of things to do. When I'm looking at this, you can see that I started to cut my color match here. This little crack is the same color. And I could go even darker. See, this is my photograph, but I can even go darker to match this. So, and even the nice burnt sienna, the dark orange here, I could start blending it into there. So again, it's like building it up. Watercolors is all light values to dark values. So again, to choose what colors you're going to use to match it, you have to figure out what is in your arsenal of paints. So we all have our own pile of paints, right? So all different companies, and you just don't know what of these colors is going to match into your photograph. So that's the next part of my tips to share with you.
Yeah,
so,
that would be a challenge to try to go through all the paints and see. I think that might take me longer than actually painting it, perhaps. I don't know.
Well, it got to a point, Audrey, I had so much paints just like you. Like, yeah. I didn't know what I had. So actually, I created my own book of what paints I have.
Beautiful.
So I had it's so piled. Like this is just a little bit of my paint supply. But So I decided to spend some time and write down the company's name, the color, like all abbreviations. Like, so this is professional Winsor Newton here. This blue, ultramarine blue. Even if I have a pigment number, sometimes a tube has different pigment numbers on them as well.
Yeah.
So I would use, this is a 300-pound paper, and I punched a hole on it on one side, made squares. And so it tells me instantly which colors are liftable too as well, or which are staining. Which one. So it's like this is my Bible. Whenever I have a new tube of paint, I make it put into my empty square here. And so that way I know at an instant of what color I have.
That's perfect.
Yeah. So again, and then you'll probably tell too as well, is different companies have different shades. Like cerulean blue, the camera may not even show it, but you can tell Grumbucker's cerulean blue is so different than Winsor Newton professional Winsor Newton and Cotman, but they all look different. I know the camera doesn't pick it, but when you see it, actually, they're so different.
Yeah, no, I can see. I mean, it's one's more of a tealy and the one goes more to the blue.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So I go to this, but my course that I teach, I'm showing, I love sharing these new ideas for people. So you can also try to make your own watercolor mixing guide. This is just mine that I created that I use. This is 90-pound watercolor paper, and I printed it off my printer at a template. And I would mix, let's say the yellows with the blues, and in the instant you can kind of see of what your colors is going to turn out when you mix those two colors. So, that's another method. I have so many different methods of color mixing and matching. Now, another method is, let's pull this away. So if I have lots of reds, pinks, greens, this is what I took out my tubes of paint, and I start sorting it out of trying to do my own color matching swatches. So again, my burnt umber, I did the same with my book here. So I did this before I made my book. So I knew what this is going to look like with my photograph. So like my alizarin crimson, the Grumbucker orange, it matches really well for the top of the cone.
Oh yeah, beautiful.
So again, you can use that information ahead of time and do color matching. And I just really enjoy creating a painting out of using a photograph and expanding it. So again, you can create some abstract in the background, or use maybe having that 1/4-inch masking tape, and then see you're following through across to what the image is.
Yeah. Kathleen was asking, how do you protect your photo when doing the background?
Perfect, good question. So I also suggest you having watercolor paper. So when I do especially when I'm wet, or when it gets really close to the edge, I slip a watercolor paper in between. So that way I use this as a reference too, because it's getting there, right? So especially when you're doing saran wrap and you want to protect the area, I always have this available, so that way it's protect my photograph. And then once it's dry, then I would take off my photograph and then use a rigger brush or a writer brush, and just very gently, just be very careful when you're getting close to the edge there.
Oh yeah. Yeah, because she was asking whether or not you could use like a saran wrap.
Yeah.
Over the picture as well.
That's true. I never, tell you the truth, that would never came when I would taught this class. I never thought about covering it with saran wrap. That's a good idea.
We're all helping each other.
Well, the thing is, you have like everybody thinks out of the box a little bit, right? So yeah, so it's like yeah, it's fun thing to, and you can go as large as you want, as small as you want. So I do have some larger ones in the back of me hanging on my wall, but it's just something different, and it really teaches you how to mix those paints. So in my palette here, so I do have some paint, some already here. The Grumbucker orange, I have some right here, and you know how easily you can see how well it matches. So again, when I'm looking at the sample here, I have this nearby, really close by, because this is really, I can see the whole picture here. And like for this one coneflower in the corner here, I can see how light it is compared to the photograph. So if I want to give this a little bit more of a punch, I can use that orange and try to match it. And then I'll go back to my burnt umber, dark burnt umber mixed with ultramarine blue, and go in between the creases, just to even make it more punch to it. So do you have any questions?
Well,
I'd love to answer questions.
How do you know when you're done? Or you just kind of get to that point where you're satisfied with it, or?
Yeah, it's like any painting that you do. Well, here's a frame here, and so what I do is put it inside my frame and let it sit. Put this like this there for a bit. I have it all ready, and then I would hang it, put it aside for about 3 days, and look at it, and your mind would tell you where you need to add a little bit more darks. And then when it gets near the end, you know that, okay, I'm not going to touch it or I'm going to wreck it. It's like that inner voice that you have inside, that it's time to stop.
Yeah. Perfect.
Yeah.
Now somebody was wondering, how did you do the background? When you show that very first one in the background, how did you do that?
The background, like
just the green background.
Like that one?
How was that done?
Oh, just by saran wrap. Like it's so what I've done is made a large wash of ultramarine blue, and then while I should go back, I wet it just like how you would normally wet the watercolor paper ahead of time, but I don't soak the paper because remember, this is matte board, so I very gently wet around it, and it's really that background is done earlier. That background is done earlier. Okay, so you still got your masking fluid on. You've got your tape, a 1/4 inch tape, so it's well protected. At this point, I would use my protective paper here, and then wet my matte board, put my light colors on, put saran wrap, and kind of create different shapes to it, and then let it air dry, and then come back to it.
Very neat. So that you're talking that like the tape or whatever's making it. What did you call it again? The stuff so that you're not going over top of your pattern.
Yeah, it's all pre-drawn, right?
So it's pre-drawn. So what did you put on so that the paint won't go where you're going to, or this background won't go where you're going to paint? Masking fluid, you said.
Masking fluid.
Okay, yes. Perfect. So you put that over everything that's a flower and.
Yeah, and the stems.
And the stems.
Yeah, and all the rest is background garden. For this particular reference, it's all background garden. So really, it doesn't really have to be too much detail anyway. It's the abstract. And I can demonstrate it a little bit more.
So that would be great.
So this has glass. I unfortunately has glass. I'm just going to hold it on the angle. So this. All right, so this is the photograph inside here. And you can see I did color matching to a point, maybe about an inch and a half. But all this background is all done by saran wrap. So it kind of it makes it unfocused, and then it focuses the viewer looks at your painting, and all of a sudden it started to become more in focus in the center, because I see I did color matching on the right side, expanding it.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Yeah.
That is awesome. Yeah, I don't think there have any other questions here. I'm kind of looking on the one page. Lots of comments. That is gorgeous, beautiful. Kathleen says, thank you for answering her questions.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome.
Yeah.
And if you think of any other questions, send me an email, and I'm quite welcome to respond to any other questions. But I just find this is a really good exercise of color matching, of getting to know your pigments. When I taught this class in London, this art group, it was great to see that they had, I remember seeing they had a beach, a boat, stones, and so it was such a nice way of expanding your mind about art, about drawing out on the mat board, whatever you see. It's, the drawing exercise as well. It gives you that space of how far that stem is and where the flower is from your reference. So it's a great exercise for artists to use.
Yeah. And it's on watercolor paper. So if you mess up, you can always fix it or just go on to a new one.
Yeah, but this is
for those just starting, if you're just, I'm thinking of myself, I'm just starting. So it's, trying to match up the colors and that sort of thing.
Yeah. Yeah. And this is just on mat board. So again, the mat board itself, you just have to be careful, because I have found that if you really wet this, the top layer of the mat board does peel off. So you really can't have it saturated either. So it does take masking fluid really well. It comes off really well. Again, masking fluid, you have to be careful, because you can't put it on damp paper. You have to make sure it's well dry, and you can't use a blow dryer to dry it, because that heat pushes the masking fluid right into either paper or matte board. So you just have to be aware of the masking fluid itself.
Yeah. And Suzanne's asking, do you ever use an alcohol spritz technique on the background?
Not on mat board.
Not on mat board. Okay.
Now, that was one of my new courses I went on Udemy, actually, is using I think over 30 different techniques, and spraying alcohol and water. That was one of them, but I wouldn't do it on that board. But paper, yes, for sure, to create some different
Perfect.
shapes.
Well, here, I will bring you back so we can see. There you are. So the one course, this course, is it on? Are you doing it yourself through Zoom, or would they find it on Udemy?
This one, yeah, Udemy. It's udemy.com.
Yeah.
And let's see here. Do I have so I do have my courses. You probably in the wrong camera, but I have it on my here. So I don't know if you can switch that.
Yeah,
over.
No, we can see it. They can see it. It's
okay. So here's my Udemy. So it's udemy.com. So this course is step-by-step on Udemy. All right. Perfect. So, and if you ever want to buy custom-made mat board, I have 8x10s, and I have a 2-inch hole here, a 2x4-inch hole here, and then that's available on my Square website. But again, you just have to. It's playing more than anything. Now, I do have another course coming up in July in Southampton, which is so different too.
Oh. See. Is this at the Art Center in Southampton?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know if your camera.
Oh, here, I will.
Maybe I'll go this way.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that'd be better. But this is using watercolor and wax. So again, this is paper, watercolor paper, and we put light values of watercolor first on the paper, and then let it dry, and then we put a layer of wax, melted wax on top. And then we go and crease our paper in different ways and let the wax falls naturally off. And then we introduce any color you want. So looks like I introduced some violets in the cracks wherever the wax fall. Then I remove all of the wax, and then you can do your detail painting. So again, that's of course July the 21st and 22nd at
Oh,
Southampton.
beautiful. And where is that lighthouse?
This is in BC.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
it's called Fiscar Lighthouse. We visit our daughter. Her husband was in the Navy at that point in time. But yeah, the Fiscar Lighthouse.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Well, this has been great. Thank you so much for joining us. It's
Well,
been very educational, and just I just love that technique of bringing the photograph with the painting. It's just really, yeah, really highlights both, I guess. You know,
mhm,
yeah,
mhm,
yeah,
mhm.
yeah.
Well, thank you so much for having me this afternoon. I appreciate
Oh,
it.
you're welcome. You're welcome. And you have a great weekend. Is it nice and sunny up there as well?
Oh, it's beautiful.
It's
Yeah,
beautiful.
it's gorgeous.
All right. Well, thank you, Bev.
Okay, bye.
Take care. Bye bye. There we are. Well, that was great. I just love that. I know I had seen that a couple of her designs a few years back in London, and that she was giving the course, and just love that technique because so many people have beautiful pictures, and to take those pictures and incorporate it with your painting, just yeah, just incredible. So something that we'll possibly try. You've got lots of time right now, so just go for it, and even just use a regular watercolor paper, something like that, and play for a little while. And I like the frame that she did. Just so many ideas there. So thank you again, Bev, for all your tips on the color, picking colors and the color blending process as well. So yeah, I just wanted to mention as well about, I had mentioned early about Art Waves Live. Just a reminder that tomorrow we go live, and this is the cover of our catalog. So that is what you will see on live. That's our one and only Debbie Cotton. Hello, Debbie Cotton. That's her design that she had done for us for this year for COVID. We also have Holly Hanley's design within the book. So that's the cover, and the all the classes will be online, ready to register. The event, it's just a neat way to bring all of us together, the teachers, the educators, the students. And we'll also be having like a bit of a vendor show and some demonstrations and make and takes and things like that. So it's just going to be a fun filled 4 days. And yeah, you just can show up on Facebook and see some of the things that have been going on, and of course register for classes and some workshops. A couple are just going to mention the teachers that will be teaching for us. Deb Antonick, Pam Colley, sorry, I'm just dry today. Debbie Cotton, Wendy Fay, Lynn Haygarth, Debbie James, Pamela Kearns, Lana Lamb, Tracy Moreau, Linda O'Connell, Cindy Ohama, Anna Marie Oak, Lydia Steves, and Judy Westergaard Jenkins. So we've got an amazing lineup of artists for you. And you certainly don't want to miss take some classes for some of these amazing artists. So we're just so glad that they've agreed to be part of this first virtual online event. Um, and speaking of that as well, our next Audrey Live, which is going to be on April 22nd in 2 weeks, we are going to have a special Meet the Teacher. So it's going to be all the Art Waves Live online teachers, and they will showcase for you. Some will be on live, some will be recorded depending on their schedules, and they will showcase for you all the classes that they're going to be teaching and showing it to you here live, and just giving you a little teaser tidbit of what the class is going to what they're going to be doing in the class, or why should you take that class, what are the advantages. So we're really looking forward to having them all with us in 2 weeks on Audrey Live. So you don't want to miss that. You're going to put that on your calendars for sure. Yeah, so save the date. And for any of the shows that you have missed or you haven't seen them all, you want to go back and see it, just go to our YouTube channel. It's Pin It Canada. And all of the Audrey Live shows will be there, plus our Pin It Live events. And portions of the Art Waves live online will be there as well. Not the classes, but some of the demonstrations and make and takes, and that will be there after the show. So you won't want to miss it. I'm telling you, it's just going to be a great time. So thank you everybody for joining us today. We've just had a great day. And yeah, Suzanne said that's a great list of artists. You're right. It's an amazing list of artists. And, we're just so pleased to have them all with us. So have a great weekend. Have a great day. Take care of yourself and take care of each other. And we'll see you in 2 weeks from Audrey Live. Bye bye.